So once again, I welcome you all for this session. So today's session, the topic is securing user authentication and network anomaly detection. Okay. So in this, the first one, there are different authentication practices are available. Okay. So what are all the authentication practices we are having? There are 10 different types of authentication practices are available. Okay. When we are using the network anomaly detection. Okay. We can give some secure user authentication. Okay, so what are all the secure authentication practices nowadays we are using? Is number one, the basics of a password based authentication. Okay, so we all are very well know about the password based authentication. Then the multi-factor authentication. So these things also nowadays we are using MFA, multi-factor authentication. Then biometric authentication. So these are the three basics authentication the user they are using their daily routine life. Okay, then SSO, okay, which is called a single sign on. Then token based authentication. Then the sixth one, that is RBAC, role based access control. Then the seventh one, account lockout policies. Then a captcha verification. Then the next one, network based authentication controls. And the last one, which is called login and monitor. So these all are several authentication practices we are using in the network anomaly detection. Okay, and now let's see the first one, the password based authentication. Okay, so normally suppose we can create a mail ID, or suppose we can create any one of user account in a web pages. Okay, so all the user account must contains a username and password. Okay, so wherever we are using the username and password, we are having a set of rules and regulations to create a username as well as the password. Okay, they are giving us some suggestion to create a username as well as the password. Okay, so in general term, how we can use this username and password in a best practices. Okay, so what is the best practices to use our username and password? Number one, we have to use a strong password. Okay, it must be a 8 to 12 characters, like a mixed set of letters and with numbers as well as some special characters. Okay, that is called a symbols. Okay, so whenever we are creating a new mail ID, otherwise whenever we are creating a new account login in any one of the web pages, okay, it will get some new username and password from the user. Okay, at that time we have to given a strong password for that particular account. Okay, that particular password must contain at least 8 to 12 characters with different kinds of mixed letters, like alphanumeric. Okay, so alphabetical character as well as a small character as well as numbers with some symbols. Okay, to enforce password expiration policy. Okay, sometimes the password may be expired within 3 months, 6 months, or a year. Okay, then we have to suppose the password may be expired, it will ask the user to reset your password. At the same time, we have to reset our password. Okay, with a new password we cannot use the password, otherwise we cannot we cannot update the password with the existing. Okay, to prevent the password reuse, then store password using hashing algorithm. Okay, like different kinds of cryptographic hashing algorithm like SH. Okay, we have to store your passwords. Okay, so what is the limitations? Which are vulnerable to brute force and phishing attacks if not properly secured when we are using the password based authentication. This is the first one. Then the second one, which is called multi-factor authentication, MFA. Okay, there are two or more authentication factors in multi-factor authentication. Number one, the password and pin. Suppose we can set a password or we can set a pin. For any example, it may be a credit or debit card. We can set a pin number. Okay, otherwise we can give a option with a one-time password. Okay, in a smart card or a credit card or debit card, we can set a password or we can use with a one-time password. Okay, otherwise we can use with some biometric level. Okay, suppose we can access with our fingerprint, otherwise sometimes we can enable with our face identification. So okay, so these all are different authentication. Okay, what kind of authentication? They are multi-factor authentication. Okay, for example, logging into Google with your password plus OTP sent to your mobile. Okay, suppose I'm having a Gmail. Suppose I want to give you more security to my Google account. Okay, so I can give a password along with the OTP which will be sent to my registered mobile. Okay, so this is the multi-factor authentication. At a time I can give you a password as well as the OTP. Okay, that's what here we are telling. Something you know with your password and PIN, something you have your OTP with your smart card. Okay, something you may be with your biometric. Okay, so what is the benefit means we can reduce the risk of unauthorized access. Okay, someone unauthorized user cannot access your. Okay, so for that you can produce a risk. Okay, so it protects against a stolen password. Okay, so that's what we are using this kind of multi-factor authentication. Then biometric authentication, so everybody having a unique physical identification or a unique physical or unique behavioral characteristics. Okay, based on this we can use different biometric authentication. So the popular biometric authentication is fingerprint recognition, then we are using facial recognition, then iris scanning, then voice recognition. Okay, so these all are the different kinds of biometric authentication. So these authentication will protect your system as well as to protect your data from this network anomaly detection. Okay, so these are the type. What is the advantages when we are using this biometric authentication? Which it find out the difficult to replicate as well as it is convenient and fast when we are using with different behavioral characteristics. So this is the third one, biometric. And the fourth one, which is called SSO, single sign on. Okay, so it allows the user to log in once and access multiple applications. Okay, so we can log in a single time. Okay, but we can access in a multiple applications. For example, there is a Microsoft account to access your Outlook, your Teams, and OneDrive. Okay, so all those things we are having only one login. We are having only one login, but we can access more number of applications. So what is the benefit mean? To improve the user experience and it reduce the password fatigue, and as well as it is a centralized access control. Okay, for that we cannot give more number of passwords. Okay, we can access the single user ID password, we can access more number of applications, that is single sign on. So in this fifth one, a token based authentication. Okay, so why we are using this token based authentication? After successful login, okay, after your successful login, a secure token will be issued to your user. Okay, then this user used with the API and web applications. So whenever the token is expressed, automatically your page will be terminated. Okay, so why we are using this token based authentication means to prevent your session from a hijacking. So this is called token based authentication. Then role based access control, RBAC. Okay, so nowadays we are using this kind of RBAC method when we are using a admin side, when we are using a faculty, when we are using a student. Okay, so this are the different level. So everybody having a different limitations. Everybody having a different limitation. These limitations must set by the RBAC. Okay, which means a role based access. Suppose the admin have a full rights, which means they are having a full access control. But at the same time, a faculty having minimum number of accessing. At the same time, the student having a less amount of accessing control. This is called a role based access. Okay, based on the role only we can give the controlling access to that particular user. Why means the student can have some restricted access to access that particular admin pages. Okay, that's what we are giving some restrictions to that particular student, as well as the faculty. So faculties also, they are having a certain minimum amount of limitations compared with the admin, but admin having a full access to accessing all the pages. Okay, that is, it prevents unauthorized privilege escalation as well as to minimize the insider threat when we are using with RBAC. Then account lockout policies locks account after multiple failed login attempts. Suppose I tried many times, like 4 or 5 times, automatically that particular account may be logged out. Because suppose we are trying more number of times, automatically the page will be locked. Okay, that is account locks after multiple failed login attempts. Then it prevents brute force attack, and as well as it generates alerts for suspicious activity. Okay, so this is called account lockout policies. Then captcha verification. Okay, so suppose I have given my user ID password correctly. Okay, then finally I have another one verification which is called captcha. Okay, there are some mixed letters with numbers. Okay, based on this captcha I can give you a correct captcha, then it will capture, finally it will goes to the login page. Okay, the network based authentication control, there are three different types of network based authentication controls are available. Number one, IDS, which is called intrusion detection system. Why we are using this intrusion detection system means it monitors some suspicious login patterns. Then IPS, it blocks malicious traffic automatically, intrusion prevention system. Then zero trust architecture, which is called no user devices trusted by default, as well as the continuous authentication and verification. So these are the three network based authentication control. Number one is IDS, intrusion detection system, then IPS, intrusion prevention system, and the third one, which is called zero trust architecture. And the last one, logging and monitoring. Okay, we can, how we have login and how the system, the entire session will be monitored by the admin, which means to maintain authentication log. Then we have to monitor unusual login times or locations. Okay, so where the user login, otherwise how long time the user may be login. Okay, that means multiple failed login from different IP address trigger alert. Suppose I have a same mail ID. Okay, suppose I have using, otherwise I have login that particular ID with different IP address. Automatically it gives a trigger alert to the user, which means the user tried with their account, others tried to open that particular account with different devices. Okay, that is a multiple failed logins from different IP address. So these all are the 10 different types of authentication practices when we are dealing with the network anomaly detection. Okay,